Hi everyone, and welcome to our next CEM homework review video. This is for year 5 and block 6, and this is going to review the week 1 lesson 1 homework tasks. So we're looking forward to going through this homework video with you and making sure that you understand all of the answers from your CEM homework. So let's bring up the slides. And just a reminder of what we're going to be focusing on. This is for CEM, this is for Year 5, Block 6, and it's going to be the Week 1 tasks that were set. Hopefully you've got your homework overview, and this just outlines which tasks we're going to be focusing on. So there's quite a few tests in the You Must section this week. We're going to be looking at a comprehension, and then we're going to focus on unnecessary words exercise for test 2, and we're also going to do tests 3 through to 7 as well. So we'll review all of those tests for you from pages 7 to 12. If you were able to do the You Could, fantastic. All the answers, of course, are in the back. Sometimes they're not always explained, but certainly you can check and see whether you've got them right or not. So the book that we're actually referring to is the Let's CEM 10 to 11 Quick Practice Test book for verbal reasoning. And the first one we're going to be looking at is a comprehension activity. And this is going to run from pages 4 to 5. So this is an extract from Treasure Island by Robert Louis Stevenson. I'm actually just going to read this through to you, and then we're going to have a look at some questions that follow. He was a very silent man by custom. All day hung around the cove or up upon the cliffs with a brass telescope. All evening he sat in a corner of the parlour next to the fire and drank rum and water very strong. Mostly he would not speak when spoken to, only look up sudden and fierce and blow through his nose like a foghorn. And we and the people who came about our house soon learned to let him be. Each day when he came back from his stroll, he would ask if any seafaring man had gone by along the road. At first we thought it was the want of company of his own kind that made him ask this question, but at last we began to see he was desirous to avoid them. When a seaman did put up at the Admiral Benbow, as now and then some did, making by the coast road for Bristol, he would look in at them through the curtained door before he entered the parlour, and he was always sure to be as silent as a mouse when any such was present. For me, at least, there was no secret about the matter, for I was, in a way, a sharer in his alarms. He had taken me aside and one day and promised me a silver 4penny on the first of every month if I would only keep my weather eye open for a seafaring man with one leg, and let him know the moment he appeared. Often enough, when the first of the month came round, and I applied to him for my wage, he would only blow through his nose at me and stare me down. But before the week was out, he was sure to think better of it, bring me my 4penny piece, and repeat his orders to look out for the seafaring man with one leg. How that personage haunted my dreams, I need scarcely tell you. On stormy nights, when the wind shook the four corners of the house and the surf roared along the cove and up the cliffs, I would see him in 1,000 forms and with 1,000 diabolical expressions. Now the leg would be cut off at the knee, now at the hip. Now he was a monstrous kind of creature who had never had but the one leg, and that in the middle of his body. To see him leap and run and pursue me over hedge and ditch was the worst of nightmares. And altogether I paid pretty dear for my monthly 4penny piece in the shape of these abominable fancies. So, as you could probably tell, it's quite an old-fashioned text, and there's a lot of fairly archaic language in there. But if we have a little look at the questions that you were asked, we'll see if we can pick out the evidence that tells us what the answers are. So, number 1. What is a similar word to custom as it is used in the passage? And the answer to that one is habit. So a custom is a habit. And if we go back to line 1, you'll see he was a very silent man by custom. So sort of normality, if you like. He was normally very silent. So the synonym we're looking for there, so the similar word, it's not costume, not superstition, not culture, and not customary, it's habit. What service did the narrator provide for the man? Well, you might remember it talked about looking out for a seafaring man. and the evidence is here. He would look at him through the curtain door before he entered the parlour, and be sure to be as silent as a mouse. And down here it's mentioned here, whether I open for a seafaring man with one leg. And that's the evidence there that shows us what he was actually looking out for. Let's go and have a look at that question. So it was E. Question 3. Which word best describes the man's attitude to any seaman who stayed at the Admiral Benbow? Well, it was being wary. And actually, this is the bit here. He would look at him through the curtain door before he entered the parlour, sure to be as silent as a mouse. So it sort of implies that he's obviously a bit cautious, a bit wary of who he's looking out for. So wary is another word for cautious. We've got some other words there that are also worth writing down. We've got the word frugal, and frugal means to be sparing or economical. So if you're sparing, particularly with money, you're frugal. Callous means uncaring. We obviously know what grateful hopefully means. And then welcoming. When he's none of those words, it's wary. He's cautious. How do we know that the man was reluctant to pay the narrator? If we go back to the text, it talks down here, and I applied to him for my wage. He would only blow through his nose at me and stare me down. But before the week was out, he was sure to think better. So eventually he did pay, but he often refused to pay at the beginning, but then changed his mind later. So it's not he refused to pay the narrator at all. He does eventually. The man was extremely poor. Doesn't mention his wealth. He hid away when the narrator asked for payment. Doesn't mention that. And the man did not think that the narrator was doing a good job. There's no mention of that either. Question 5. What impact did the narrator's job have on him? Well, it clearly made him very fearful and paranoid. And certainly the last paragraph gives us that clue. How that personage... In other words, so usually when we talk about personage, we talk about someone with sort of elevated status. But how does that person haunt their dreams? So that sort of implies that they're fearful. And the other thing that they're talking about here is being paranoid. In other words, worried, concerned that something might happen. Worst of nightmares, abominable fancies. So again, lots of clues about the nervousness of the narrator's job is having on him. So it's E is the answer to that one. It made him angry and bitter. No. It made him rich and prosperous. No. It made him weary and tired. No. It made him happy and lazy. So the answer to that one was E. What is the meaning of abominable fancies? Well, anything that's abominable can be described as being horrendous or hateful. So it's not fancy cars. It's not deadly fairies, but horrendous illusions, things that he's seeing. Crazy attacks or brutal devils, but horrendous is more like a synonym for abominable. So abominable illusions, abominable fancies. So well done if you got that one right. So it was only 6 questions, but quite a challenging piece of text. Let's go and have a look at the next section that we need to do for our homework, and this is test 2, and we're now looking at page 6. And these are reshuffled sentences. So with these reshuffled sentences, you obviously need to go down through, find the word that is superfluous to the rest. Just going to bring up Billy just so it's easier for you to follow these through. And then I can actually go down through each of those reshuffled sentences in turn and explain to you what the answers are. So, number 1, as you can see, rain was the word that we didn't need. And the sentence should have read, and there's a couple of options for this. The sun was shining. So we can start with the sun was shining. And then the next part, and there was not a single cloud in the sky. Not a single cloud in the sky. And the answer is rain. Now with these sentences, one of the things you will notice is they're slightly longer than ones that we've done previously. So make sure you are obviously eliminating the words that you've used. Read it as it's written. That will obviously give you a clue to what that sentence should say. I'm sure we're getting better at these, but these are getting a little bit more difficult. Question 2. You job must you want whether, not the, decide or accept to whether. And we've got homophone here, whether and whether, so we do need to be a bit careful there. Generally, we do have homophones. This can often be the word that we don't require. So this is whether or not, so making a choice, whereas this is whether as in the weather outside, so whether it's going to be raining or sunny. So the answer is actually whether. That's the word we don't require. So the sentence, though, should say, you must, so we're looking at starting with a pronoun, you must decide whether you want to accept, and what's he going to accept? Accept the job or not. So whether is a superfluous word there. Question 3, it's got, and the sentence should say, dinosaurs roamed through this land millions of years ago. So got was the word we didn't need there. Well done if you managed to get those 3 correct. Let's go and have a look at the next reshuffled sentences. There's only 6 of them. Of is the word we didn't require here, and it will be the, so if we read it as it's written, of ran out, unruly patience, eventually the, with, student, the, teacher, of. So in your mind, you can think that probably the teacher's patience with the unruly student ran out. So it's going to be something like that. That gives you a bit of a clue. When you read it as it's written, it should hopefully tell you and give you a clue to what that sentence should be. So, the teacher eventually ran out of, what did he run out of? Well, obviously patience with the unruly student. With the unruly student. So we've got of is the word that we didn't need. Let's have a look at question 5. Getting dogs to like whilst meet others, some swim, detest wet. So the sentence should be, and there's 2 options here. Some dogs like to, what do they like to? Like to swim whilst others detest, in other words, hate, getting wet. So meet was the word that we didn't require. And I will just highlight that for you just so it's easier for you to see. So meet was the word that we didn't need there. Let's have a look at question 6. We've got fit passenger was the by a sudden coughing overcome trains. So the passenger was overcome by a sudden coughing fit. So let's get my pen back. The passenger was overcome by a sudden coughing fit. So the word we didn't require is trains. Well done if you managed to get 6 out of 6 on those reshuffled sentences. And hopefully you're starting to get even better at those now. I know we've done quite a few reshuffled sentences over the last few weeks as well. Let's move on to the next tests. Now we're actually going to focus on pages 7 to 12 here, so we've got quite a few questions that we're going to be looking at. Let's have a look at the first one. Now this actually is about Thomas Edison, and I am going to just put up a video, very short video about Thomas Edison that you might be interested to watch. So I'm just going to copy this into Google and you'll be able to watch this. Now hopefully you'll be able to see it okay. It's a very short video. It's only a minute or so long.
Thomas Edison is the world's greatest inventor, not just for what he invented, but because he had the good sense to apply the principles of mass production and teamwork to innovation.
Just going to start that again, and then you can watch it. I will take the camera away as well.
Thomas Edison is the world's greatest inventor, not just for what he invented, but because he had the good sense to apply the principles of mass production and teamwork to innovation. Edison has nearly 1,100 US patents in his name for inventions that had significant impact on the world, like electric light, sound recording, motion pictures, a long-lasting practical electric light bulb, a mechanical vote recorder, and a battery for an electric car. His development of a system of electric power generation and distribution to homes, businesses, and factories was a crucial development in the modernization of the world. After the sale of his quadruplex telegraph, Edison created the world's first industrial research laboratory, with the specific purpose of producing constant technological innovation and improvement, and then controlling its application. It's true that Edison was legally attributed with most of the inventions that many of his employees created through painstaking research and development under his direction, but it took a special kind of genius to seize great opportunity after great opportunity, balance all those projects, and lead and inspire all those people.
So hopefully you were able to listen to that video okay, and it's quite interesting. We've got a lot to thank Thomas Edison for, haven't we? So let's have a little look at this particular passage and see if we can work out what words should have gone in the gaps. So this is now on page 7 and it's test free. If you did want to watch that video again, the link is up there if you wanted to type it into Google. Thomas Edison was born in Ohio in 1847. An undoubted genius in the practical application of scientific principles. Edison was one of the greatest and most productive inventors of his time. However, his formal schooling was limited to only 3 months in Michigan in 1854. For several years, he laboured as a newsboy, and it was during this period that he began to suffer from deafness, which was to increase throughout his life. He later worked as a telegraph operator in various cities. Edison's first inventions were the transmitter and receiver of the automatic telegraph, the quadruplex system of transmitting simultaneous messages, and an improved stock ticker system. In 1877, he invented the carbon telephone transmitter for the Western Union Telegraph Company. His phonograph was notable as the first successful instrument of its kind. So as I said at the beginning, I've got a lot to thank Thomas Edison for. Hopefully you've been able to find the right word to fit into the gap. And as we always say with closed passages, it's worth at the end reading it all through to make sure it flows and it makes sense. Well done if you managed to get all of those right. What we certainly suggest is you go down, tick them off, check that you've got the right words. There are some little clues in some of the sentences that help you work out the word. Interestingly, on this one, we've got an, so it had to be a vowel. So it couldn't have been maligned and it couldn't have been grandiose, so we could have got rid of those. So always look out for little clues like that will help you. And we've got 12 marks to possibly gain there. Well done if you did well on test 3. Let's have a look now at odd one out. We're just going to talk about why, of course, they are the odd ones out. So we've got sheep because all the others are types of young animal. Got a young horse, a kid, could be a young goat, puppy, can be a young dog. 2, we've got average because tiny, minuscule, small are all synonyms for being minute. So average was the odd one out there. 3, we've got indicate, denote, signify and hide. Hide is the odd one out because signify, denote and indicate are all synonyms. Shove, shunt and propel all go together, but yank is pulling. So that's the reason that 4. All the others are movements of pushing away. If you shunt, propel or shove, they all mean to move away, whereas yank is to pull towards. Number 5 is tomato. All the others are grown below the ground or under the ground. 6 is weep. All the others are synonyms. Cry, bellow and yell. Wheel is the odd one out in 7 because all the others are people controlling a vehicle. Driver, pilot and a captain. Number 8, we've got transparent, evident and apparent. That all means to be clear. If something's transparent, evident or apparent. Whereas opaque means not to be able to see through. And then we've got dissent, and then we've got submit, comply and defer. Dissent is the odd one out because all the others are synonyms of each other. 10, we've got articulate, state, eloquent and orate. and the others are all verbs. So that's the reason that eloquent is the odd one out there. Hopefully you've done well on those particular questions. Let's have a look at the next section. The next section is another antonym section that you've got to do, but this is to insert the letters. So we've got immense being big and then minute. King and subject are opposites. A borrower and a lender. Seize and relinquish. Relinquish being to let go. Improve and deteriorate. So it is important you get the right letters in the gaps as well. Muddled. So muddled up. So it's not very clear. Lucid. Yield and resist. Acquit and convict. We've definitely had those words over the weeks. Onerous. You might remember what that meant. It was in one of your spellings, I think. Hard. Effortless, meaning it doesn't take much effort. And abolish and approve. So well done on those 10. Again, you can write your scores down. Let's have a look at the next section. And the next section is called missing letters. Now what we thought might be easier to do is give you all of the words down the side. You can then go down and double check you have the right word, but then you need to check that you've filled in the right letters as well. So if we look at gregarious on the first one, we need to make sure that we're adding in. Now I've got a feeling, it's just double check. Is it always three letters? I'm not sure it always is every single time. Might be, but we've got GAR there that we need to slot in. Prosperity, we need to add the ROS. Occupied, yeah, it does look like we're looking at 3 letters most times. SED, and then we've got ROP. Soiled, I've got lead, mystify. So it's just putting in those words, but it is really important then that they are opposites or synonyms. So we've got synonyms, antonyms, alternates all the way down through. So you've just got to be careful that you are looking very carefully at the question. And then we've got rejoice. So it does look like we're looking at 3 letters, I think, every time. Agreeable. Just underlining those 3 letters for you, just so you can see the ones that you should have been adding in. Doesn't always spell a 3-letter word, but it certainly does need to make sense. And embezzle. And then careless, the last one. So well done if you've managed to spell all those correctly. Any words you don't know, then do put them in your word and meaning book. That's another really important skill, of course, with your homework, that you're recording down any words that you don't know. Right, let's have a look at the correct the sentence section. See if we can work out which sentence is correct. And in actual fact, we've got a few videos we're going to show you here that you can watch about some of these different points, certainly grammatical points as well. So let's go and have a little look. Let's grab a pen. So number 1, if we look at the answer is D. And the reason it's D, we say, in order for a dog to be comfortable with its owner, it must be treated well. And you can see here we've got on number 1, for example, we've got dog and their. So we've got dog singular and their plural. So we know that one can't be correct. We've also got here, we've got dogs and its owner. So again, we've got plural and singular used together. So we can certainly rule that one out. C, in order for a dog to be comfortable with their owner, they must be treated well. So again, we've got, again, not the correct use of, because it's saying their and dog. So again, we're looking at plural and singular not being correct. But the answer, in order for a dog to be comfortable with its owner, it must be treated well. Number 2, this is fairly straightforward. When you're saying the politician object, you would say object to the law. You wouldn't say the politician object from the law, and you wouldn't say the politician object on the law, and you certainly wouldn't say the politician object by the law. So the answer to that one is B. So if I just make sure that we know which one's correct, if I do that in green. Number 3, interestingly on this one, and it is all about being a correct sentence, we always need a full stop at the end. So we can actually rule out that because it doesn't have a full stop at the end. The answer is B. My mother gave my friend and I a present. Well, unfortunately, we've got no subject and object agreement here. So the correct version of this sentence is my mother gave a present to me and my friend. You wouldn't say my mother will give I and my friend a present. It doesn't make sense. Now, there is a little video here just to look at in terms of subject agreement. The answer to that one was B. Let's have a little look at the video. I'm just going to copy that again so you can watch it. I'll bring up the Google Cam just so you can watch this short little video. So just listen to this. This talks about verb agreement, subject and object verb agreement. So just listen to this video.
Subject.
The subject of a sentence is the person or thing doing the action or being described. It often comes before the verb in a sentence. Speedy Pete crashed his bicycle. Speedy Pete is the subject. He did the crashing. Now the rear tyre is flat. In this sentence, the rear tyre is the subject. It is being described as flat. Speedy Pete takes out his bicycle pump. In this sentence, Speedy Pete is the subject again, as he is taking out his bicycle pump. Luckily, Speedy Pete always works quickly. Uh-oh. Maybe too quickly? Okay, so this is really important, guys. The subject of a sentence is the person or thing doing the action or being described. Poor Speedy Pete, always the subject of such misfortune.
So hopefully you were able to watch that little video. Just gave you a little bit of an idea of the subject and the object there. So again, I think certainly with any of these rules that you're not quite sure about, then do watch some videos. Certainly on the BBC Bite Size website, there are some fantastic videos to help you out. Right, let's have a look at question 4. The answer is A. And just to explain why, we say, my love of sweets and donuts is preventing me from losing weight. My love of sweets and donuts is preventing me against losing weight. Well, you wouldn't say against there. That wouldn't make sense. My love of sweets and donuts are preventing me from losing weight. And because we're using are there, and obviously my love is singular, it's a singular verb, my love, then you wouldn't use are. So it does need is. And you wouldn't say my love of sweets and donuts is prevention me from losing weight. Prevention there doesn't make sense. So the answer is A. We look at question 5. This one might make you laugh a little bit. This one was a little bit more funny. Let's just bring back Billy just so you can concentrate on the answers. So question 5, we've got, since conserving our planet is vital, everyone should try to recycle. So tried to recycle is not correct. Since conserving our planet is vital, it must be recycled. We're saying it must be recycled. So is it saying the planet should be recycled? So that's not correct. C is the answer. Since conserving our planet is vital, everyone should try to recycle. If we look at option D, since conserving our planet is vital, everyone should try to recycling. So try to recycling doesn't make sense. Now if we have a look at question 6 here, we've got the engineers worried so much, and there's a comma. If I actually get rid of my jottings, you'll be able to see here that I was actually circling the comma that is used here. Now, you may have come across something called fanboy, and you may have studied that mnemonic at school. And I'm just going to again just show you a short little video that just explains about connectives and when we use commas and potentially when we don't. So the answer is D, and we wouldn't actually use a comma here with that. So that's the reason that these are all incorrect. But it might be worth just watching a little video about conjunctions and connections. Let's go and have a little look. So copy this video again. So this just talks about conjunctions and making the link between sentences and ideas. So let's just have a little watch of this one.
Conjunctions connect two or more words, clauses, or sentences together. Words like and, but, because. They work a bit like the way this chain connects the gate to the fence. The fence keeps the tiger on one side and everyone else on the other side. And is a conjunction. It connects the two clauses together. Take these two clauses. Ahmed often visits the zoo. He can pet the animals. We can link them with a conjunction. Ahmed often visits the zoo, so he can pet the animals. So is the conjunction connecting Ahmed often visits the zoo to he can pet the animals. We can have more than one conjunction to connect multiple words, clauses, and sentences. Ahmed pets the llamas and the bunnies, but not the tiger, because the tiger is unfriendly. Ahmed was having a lovely day at the zoo until the chain came loose. Until is a conjunction connecting Ahmed was having a lovely day to the chain came loose. So remember, conjunctions connect two or more words, clauses, or sentences together. Oh dear.
And as you can see underneath there, we've got fanboys, and these are 7 coordinating conjunctions. The phrase fanboys can be used to remember, and you've got for, and, nor, but, or, yet, and so. Now the point I just need to make here, because it relates to the question, is with those you may often use a comma. But if we go back to the questions, if we go back and have a look at our slides, you might remember that we had up here, we had the word that. So the engineers worried so much, and then we've got a comma, then that, but we wouldn't actually use the commas with that. So that's the reason that the answer in this particular question is the engineers worried so much that they began to lose their hair. So, but with fanboys, with all those different words, you would often, or you can use a comma. So the answer was 6D there. If we go to 7, neither boys or girls were allowed into the exhibition. Neither boys and girls were allowed into the exhibition. Neither boys nor girls were allowed into the exhibition. Either boys nor girls were allowed into the exhibition. Now, if you found this all a little bit confusing, the answer actually is neither and nor, because neither and nor are able to go together. Now, we thought it might be a good idea again, just to show you a little video clip about which ones are allowed together. This one's a little bit longer, but I think it explains it perfectly in terms of what goes with what. So let's go back and have a little watch. We're spoiling you with videos today.
We speak student.
Either or, neither nor, and both and alashma. Both Lenny and the spiders screamed when they realized the other was in the shower. Either Lenny or the spider was gonna have to leave. Neither Lenny nor the spider was the vicious beast the other assumed. Both and, either or, and neither nor are all ways to describe in one sentence what many subjects are or aren't doing. Each of these phrases leaves 2 spaces for subjects. Both blank and blank, either blank or blank, neither blank nor blank. Plus each of those blanks, those subjects, can be singular or plural. So both Lenny and the spider, 2 singular subjects. Either Lenny or 200 newborn baby spiders, 1 singular subject, 1 plural. Neither Lenny's parents nor Lenny's friends, 2 plural subjects. See how we did that? So now there's only one thing left to deal with. Grammar-wise, that is, Lenny's on his own. Do we say either the baby spiders or Lenny is going to win or are going to win? The rule is way simple. For both and phrases, your verb is always going to be plural. For either or and neither nor phrases, your verb is going to correspond to the subject closest to the verb, that second blank. If it's singular, your verb is singular. If it's plural, your verb is plural. Simple. So let's take that sentence from earlier and try again. If it's either Lenny or 200 newborn baby spiders, then the verb is are going to win because the second subject, spiders, is plural. But if it's either 200 newborn baby spiders or Lenny, then it's is going to win because the second subject, Lenny, is singular. Although he's really trying to put himself out there, if you know what we mean. Go match.com and try JDate if not. Same goes for neither nor. It can be neither Lenny nor Lenny's parents are ever going to enter that bathroom again. Or neither Lenny's parents nor Lenny is ever going to enter that bathroom again. And finally, both and is the easiest. Plural subject, singular subject, whatever, the verb is always going to be plural, like this. Both Lenny and the spider, singulars, weren't able to find common ground. And that's the story of why Lenny's entire family didn't shower for 6 months.
So hopefully, guys, you were able to understand that. So really what we were talking about there was whether we're going to be having neither and or neither and or neither and nor, or either and or. So it does get a little bit confusing, but certainly if we look at what we've got here, we've got neither and nor can go together. So neither boys nor girls. What you wouldn't say is neither and or, and then you wouldn't say neither and you wouldn't say either and nor. So it's just about making sure that you know which words you can use together. So again, if you want to rewatch that video, certainly would suggest so you understand. But the answer to that one was C. And if we look at question 8, the answer is I am studying and will continue to study for the next 3 years. And the others, it's all to do with the tense agreement. You wouldn't say I am and will study. That doesn't make sense. I am and will be studying for the next 3 years. Doesn't work. And I am studying and will for the next 3 years. So the answer, I am studying, because they're kind of two separate parts. I'm studying and will continue to study for the next 3 years. So the answer to that one is D. And then if we look at question 9, the answer is C. And just a couple of things to point out here. Tim likes playing with Rob as much as Gordon. One of the things to write, we are looking at correct sentences. No full stop there, so we can eliminate that one. Tim likes playing with Rob like Gordon, and then we need an extra bit, so it's kind of what? We've got to ask ourselves a bit of a question there. And then the same down here. Tim likes playing with Rob just as Gordon, and again, it's an extra bit that we're missing. So the right sentence is Tim likes playing with Rob as much as with Gordon. Question 10, the answer is B. After working at the company for 20 years, Fred retired as expected. And the interesting thing on all of these, it talks about was or was to. And I think certainly in regards to, if we look at the actual context of the sentence, it talks about 20 years. Well, we wouldn't necessarily expect someone after 20 years to be retiring. So the answer to that one is B. Question 11, we've got B is the answer. And the reason is because if we say my cat is allergic by most types of food, well, you don't say by. You wouldn't say from most types of pet food or against most types of pet food. You would use to. So my cat is allergic to most types of pet food. So that's why it's B. And if we look at the last one, don't go down there, my brother screamed. And there's the use of the exclamation mark there. And you would, if you were screaming it, you would emphasize it. So that's why it's that. There's no exclamation mark here. So that's the reason that those are incorrect. And this one's got a capital M, so we would remove that. So the answer to that question, question 12, was A. Thank you very much for listening to this video. Hope you found some of those little mini videos inside this one interesting. A very big well done to anyone who has completed the You Could. Well done. Brilliant stuff. So that's tests 8, 9 and 10. And obviously you can check the answers in the back of this book. Thanks very much for watching this video. Hope it was useful and it was hopefully something you were able to go down through, probably independently now, marking and checking your work. See you in your next live lesson. Thanks very much. Bye-bye.